Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Patience. In today's video I am going to be sharing with you guys how I made this beautiful off-shoulder tie front V-shape ruffle hem dress. Before we get started, kindly click the subscribe button. If you have done that, let's get into it. I'll be using 3 yards of this thick chiffon fabric for this tutorial, and I'll also be drafting on this pattern paper. So I've gone ahead to mark this line, that is the shoulder line. Remember, this is an off-shoulder dress, so I'll be taking out 4 inches for the off-shoulder. You can take out even 5 or 6 inches, it depends on how you want it. And I'll mark half of my armhole measurement, and I'll mark the waist point and the hip point. From the hip point, to get the V shape of this dress, I'll be adding extra 8 to 9 inches. So it depends on how you want the shape to come out. So I'll be using 8.5 inches. I marked 9 inches because I'll be using ½ inch for sewing allowance. I'll use the ½ inch to join the ruffles on the lower part of the dress. Now I am going to extend the lines. So this is the shoulder line, the chest line, waist line, hip line, and let's say the full length. On the shoulder line, I will mark the across chest or front chest measurement. To take that measurement, you place the measuring tape horizontally from one mid armhole to the other. Mine is 12 inches. Since the pattern is folded into 2, that is 6 inches. So I'll be adding ½ inch for sewing allowance that I'll use to join the sleeve, and I'll also be adding 1 inch for zipper allowance because I'll be using this pattern to cut out the front and the back piece. So I'll be adding 1 inch, that is 7.5 inches. The front piece has a little gathers, so I'll be using the 1 inch for the gathers, so that is 7.5 inches. I'll mark the 7.5 inches on the shoulder line and also on the chest line. On the chest line, I'll mark 1/4 of my bust circumference, and I'll add 1 inch for side seam. So if you are working with a fabric that is not stretchy like mine, you add ½ inch for ease. After doing that, I'll mark 1/4 of my waist circumference plus 1 inch for side seam. On the hip line, I will also mark 1/4 of my hip circumference plus 1 inch for side seam. I will curve the arm side and connect the points. To get the V shape on the waistline, I'll come down by 5 inches. And I'll connect the 5 inches to this point. Remember, from the hip line, I added 9 inches. So it's actually 8.5 inches. I added ½ inch for sewing allowance. I'll be using the ½ inch to join the ruffle. So I'll be extending this line this way. This is 1 inch. I'll be using it for hemming allowance and for the rope casing. So we are done drafting. I'll be using this pattern to cut out the front and the back piece. I'll be cutting the front and the back piece the same way. I've done that. This is the back piece. I've marked the 1 inch for zipper allowance, as you can see. I'll keep the front piece aside and I'll be working on the back piece. To avoid zip bulge, I'm going to be marking my back half length. So this is 1 inch for the hemming allowance. I'll place my measuring tape, taking out the 4 inch for off shoulder. I'll mark my back half length, that is 15 inches. From the back half length, I'll go in by ½ inch and I'll connect the ½ inch to the edge this way. So this is my hip point, and I'll connect the ½ inch to the edge of the hip point. and I'll cut it out. After doing this, I am still going to take out the 1 inch for zipper allowance. Now I am going to mark where my zip will stop. That is 22 inches, and I'll be sewing 1 inch, and I'll lock my stitch on the 22 inches, and then I'll attach my zipper. I'll be working on the front piece. Remember, I also added 1 inch for zipper allowance on the front piece. I'll be using the 1 inch for the little gathers on the front, and I'll also be making a casing for the tie front rope I am going to add on the front piece. So on the folded edge here, I am going to come down by 1.5 inches. And I'll be making like a little keyhole this way. So this is it. I'm still going to hem with the 1 inch. So I'll have like a casing that will pass my rope. I've gone ahead to cut this out. I cut out like a bias tape. As you can see, this is 1 inch. So I folded both sides and fold it again, just like a bias tape. So I'll be using it to finish up the edges. From the wrong side, I'll place it this way and sew round by 1/4 inch. After doing that, I'll turn it to the right side and make a top stitch. I've done that. Now I'll turn it to the wrong side and I'll fold in 1/2 inch and fold in 1/2 inch again for the 1 inch I left for hemming allowance. On the back piece, I've also joined the 1 inch and stopped at where I want my zip to stop. I'll also fold in 1/2 inch and fold in 1/2 inch again and hem. After doing that, I'll attach my zipper. I've done that. I've hemmed, as you can see. So this is where my rope is going to pass through. Also on the back piece, I've attached the zipper. The next thing I am going to do is to join the front and the back piece. So I'm going to place the right sides this way. Remember, I am going to make a little gathers on the front piece, so it is going to align. Now I'll sew by 1 inch for the side seam. I've done that. The next thing I am going to do is to attach the ruffle. To do that, I am going to measure the V. What I have on the front piece is 34 inches times 2. That is the front and the back piece is 68 inches. So I'm going to times the 68 inches by 2.5 or 3 inches to cut out the ruffle. It depends on how full you want it. Gone ahead to cut it out. And I've also hemmed. As you can see, this is 12 inches. So I cut out 13 inches. I used 1 inch for hemming allowance. Now I'll use the longest stitch on my sewing machine to make double stitch. And I'll gather it. I've done that. I've made my gathers and I joined the edges. and I made sure it is up to, so this is 34 inches times 2, that is 68 inches. Now I am going to be placing the right sides together this way and aligning the side seam. I will sew by 1/2 inch following the V shape. I've done that. I'll be cutting out the rope for the tie front. So I've gone ahead to cut it out. This is 1.5 inches. I folded 1/2 inch on both sides and fold it again. Now I am going to make a top stitch. I've done that. And on the edge, I folded 1/4 inch before turning it back to the shape and top stitching. So this is 38 inches and I cut out 2. Now using a safety pin, I am going to pass the rope through the casing, starting from this point. So when I get to the edge here, I'll pin it down. I'll be sewing by 1/4 inch to keep it in place. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Using my safety pin, I'll pass it through. And I'll also pin it down and sew by 1/4 inch to keep it in place. I've gone ahead to cut out the sleeve. On the opened edge, I used the pattern to cut out the armhole. I've already hemmed the sleeve. That is why it is not aligning. So this is the elastic casing. I'll be passing the elastic band. And I have also joined the side seam. So the length of the sleeve is 22 inches. So remember I added 1 inch on both the upper part and the lower parts for the elastic casing. So now I'll be attaching the elastic band for the armhole and for the off shoulder and the wrist. Starting from the wrist, I've cut out the elastic band. I left 1 inch opening that will pass the elastic band through. Using my safety pin, I am going to pass the elastic band. So I'll pin it down. I'll sew by 1/4 inch and then close back the 1 inch opening. Also on the off shoulder, I've gone ahead to cut out this elastic band, and this is 6 inches. So I'll also pass the elastic band through. And pin down the edge this way. I'll be sewing by 1/4 inch to keep it in place. I'll do the same thing here. I'll pin it down and be sewing by 1/4 inch to keep it in place. I'll do the same thing on the other sleeve. I've done that. Now I am going to attach the sleeve to the dress. On the front piece, I've stitched on the 1/4 inch to keep the rope in place. Now I am going to attach the sleeve. I am going to align the side seam and pin it down all through. After doing that, I'll sew by 1/2 inch and I'll do the same thing on the other sleeve. I've attached the sleeve and this is how beautiful it came out. This is the front and this is the back. So we have come to the end of this tutorials, guys. If this was helpful, kindly give this video a thumbs up and also click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to be updated when I upload a new video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.